Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Teach, Sleep, Repeat. My name is Dylan.
And my name is Hayden.
Oh, one sec. Sorry, phone's ringing. Hello.
Oh, God,
is that
here we go.
Scam hotline?
Oh, no.
Oh, it is. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, you want Hayden? Yeah, so it's following up from your scam from this week. No problem. Here you go. One second.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, thanks. Sorry, guys. Yeah, hi there. Yeah, I did get scammed. Yes. A phishing link. Yeah. No, I'm not 90. No, I'm actually a young person. Did it anyway. Yeah. Thanks, Dylan. Thanks for bringing that up.
Oh my God. Jokes aside, right? Hayden did actually get scammed this week, and I just wanted to very quickly summarize what happened because genuinely, right? I know I don't want to sound like ageist or anything, but we're not like old age pensioners not understanding how things work. We do think, oh well, we'd be able to spot someone trying to scam us, but you did actually get scammed. So what? Come on.
Long story short, had a package coming with DPD. needed to change something. Right, couldn't do it on the app, so I thought, I'll just ring them. Googled. This is the first thing. I Googled DPD contact UK number or something like that. And normally with Google, the first thing that comes up is the number, right?
Yeah, it does do that now sometimes.
So I was like, okay, I'm used to that being the right thing at the top. Anyway.
But was it a number? Was it a link?
It was a
right,
link.
okay.
It was a link. This is where my brain just wasn't braining. So I clicked on the first, and the second link was the same. So it was just like paid for. It was sponsored.
And they were sponsored. Yeah.
So I didn't notice it was sponsored. I didn't notice someone was paying to put it there.
Well, sometimes obviously actual companies have sponsored posts as well.
I know. So I felt like such an idiot. So I clicked on this link. I was like, oh, there's the number. Rang that number. Someone said, oh yeah, I'll put you through to the right department. I've just got to give you a different number to ring. I was like, yep, fine, standard stuff.
That's funny. That's how they get away with giving like a premium number. Yeah. Like not having it online, but just redirecting.
Yeah, literally. It was clever because then the second one I rang said, oh, £2.50 per minute for this call. And there's me thinking, oh, I just need to get this done, so it's fine. 6, 7 minute, 8 minute call, whatever it was in the end.
Was he stalling?
He was stalling big time, and I just spent all like 25 quid on this stupid phone call for you later in the day to be like, Hayden, I think you've been scammed, mate. When I was explaining to you.
He told me this story, and I thought, I straight away was like, oh, good job it's Hayden, because if it was anyone else, I'd feel awkward. How do I bring up the fact that I think you've been completely scammed? Because it was you, I was like, you idiot.
Yeah,
You've
literally.
been scammed.
I felt like such a mug. But the fact is, like you said, like with older people in my family and stuff, I'm constantly saying, like, be careful of that text, that's not real. Yeah. Be careful of that email, it might not be real. Unless they ring you, it's not real. And there's me Googling a number and paying £2.50 a minute.
What was the link? Like, xyzlmnop.co.uk/DPD customer service customer.
It was literally like customer.service@dpd.com. So it was quite like it was quite real looking, but so absolutely be careful. Tough. Be careful out there. Yeah. A lot of scammers.
So your bill this month has just
my phone bill went £7.99, £32 this month, and I was like, brilliant. I've just given 25 quid to a scammer.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, pretty annoyed about that.
Before we set the time for the podcast, me just winding you up.
Yeah, winding me up, making me feel like an idiot. Anyway, so yeah, that's my week. Got scammed. Only thing of relevance.
Is that it?
Only thing. Nothing else is important to me.
Well, I want to talk about Spotify Wrapped for a minute, because obviously it's been Spotify Wrapped this week or last week, depending when you're listening to this. And I love the memes that kind of take the mick out of people who post Spotify Wrapped. Okay, I find them funny. It's just funny. Like there's one that really made me laugh, and it was this like video of Messi when he just won the World Cup, like taking it in, like, oh my God, I just can't believe what's happened. And the caption was, when Spotify Wrapped tells you the artist you listened to most this year was the artist you listened to most this year. like it's information to you. Like, oh my God, Taylor Swift was number one. It's like, it's all you listen to all year.
Finding out Dylan does like the Killers.
Yeah, every year the Killers are in there somewhere. And Lin-Manuel Miranda with Hamilton. Every year, always in there somehow. But I do actually like seeing other people's Spotify Wrapped. It's interesting to me just to get into the head of like what they listen to.
Yeah, sure.
But as a creator now, because we upload this podcast through Spotify for creators, and we're under that umbrella, you get your own Wrapped with information about people listening to your podcast and stuff. And I just wanted to say, it really does match up with what we've been like noticing from messages and stuff from people listening, because last year our following went up by over 300%.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Our listeners went up by about 170, 180%.
Yeah.
And our streams went up by a similar amount, because streams are just like people who actually listen to the whole episode.
Right.
But yeah, it all was like close to 200%, a huge amount of following growth. And it just wanted to say thank you basically to you guys who are listening right now. And thank you to the people who've reached out and messaged, because you don't have to do that. And it's so, I can't explain how lovely it is when I open Instagram and sometimes they're lost in requests, so I don't see them for a few days. Oh God, sorry. And you go in there and it's just someone, who's just honestly written like a whole massive paragraph about how thank you for the podcast. Someone said it's part of their Tuesday routine when they go to the gym. Someone said they have a Monday evening dog walk.
Yeah,
and it's
I love that.
I'm really looking forward to my Monday evening dog walk because I can listen to the podcast. And I'm just like, oh my God, we are part of like thousands of people's like routine.
Didn't someone say that they literally went and parked up because they just had to listen to like rather than going? I was just like, that's so nice to me to think that. It makes me feel good to think.
Went to the seaside and just listened. And what's amazing for me constantly is the amount of people who say it's had a positive effect. Because like you said, and today's episode, you've clicked on this, we're talking about things we change. When you talk about things you change or things you think are broken, it's so easy to kind of get into a spiral of people telling you you're being negative, or don't do that. But I think it helps us stay strong, doesn't it, to talk about these things when people say, no, these need to be talked about. Do it in a positive way. Talk about how we can make it better. Because we like something.
Solutions, genuinely.
Exactly. So I really appreciate it, guys. Basically, if you're a listener, message us. Even if you've already done it, message us again. Say hello. I love talking to you guys.
How? Where do they message us, Dylan?
Oh, you can go to Instagram at Teach Sleep Repeat Podcast. I'll put a link down in the description to this episode. But one other thing I wanted to talk about before we moved on.
Go on then.
It's from my week. We did a bit of writing. We're doing Varjak Poor. My favorite book to do with the children. Such a good book, and the children absolutely love it. And I always feel like there's really good opportunities for quality description, quality action, speech, dialogue between characters and things like that. And it's really perfect for year 4 for that exact example, because that's what you want really from year 4 writing. Yeah, of course, sentences that make sense, but a bit of action, a bit of dialogue with speech marks, some description, some ability to put some adverbs in there to move around, play with the sentence structure. That's where we're at of year 4, basically. And this week, we just had a lesson where we'd done a lot of itty bitty stuff. And I guess this is what I want to try and talk about. I find it tricky sometimes with writing, kind of bridging that gap between I've got to teach you how to use adverbs, how to use conjunctions, what they are, and literally teach you the building blocks to build a sentence using these things. But I also want you to do writing as much as possible. And when the children aren't concentrating on how an adverb works and where it goes, or particularly speech, because there's so much to remember with speech, commas, punctuation marks at the end, capital letters, blah, blah, blah. I really struggle with that like bridge. So I just thought, do you know what? I want you just to do some independent writing today. And so I generated a picture online of Varjak in the city with the cars whizzing past. And the kids could immediately like put what we've been reading to it. So there was the inspiration was there. That cognitive load was taken away. But I then felt like on the board, I just had like a checklist of stuff that we'd done in the last 2 weeks. And I kind of just said to them, I want to see these things. And I really struggle because I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know what your opinion on this is, because they did some writing and the children who did most of the stuff on the board, it was kind of incoherent when I read it. It didn't really flow. There was no focus on the story. I feel like we've lost that.
They've just tried so hard to put that thing in that you said to put in.
Exactly. They're like they've done a sentence with an adverb. And then the next one they've just done a sentence and put as at the end as a conjunction, even though it doesn't necessarily make any sense to do that. Then in the next one down, they've just added a bit of speech randomly, even though I literally said to them, don't worry about speech today, but they've done it and they want to put it in. And this whole, I really struggle with this attitude of, I'm going to teach this thing and then I need to see it in your independent writing so I can tick it off on an assessment and say you're great today.
I think the whole system sucks, to be honest with you. I think since maybe 2014, I think is when people started complaining, like with Gove and all that. I think that we have become like slowly obsessed with like grammar terms and like and seeing specific grammar things in writing to make that means writing's good.
That's what I mean, because honestly, I read this. I'll be really honest. I read their writing and I thought I could probably tick off most of this stuff on the board because you're actually really good at it now. But the story was crap.
But the writing
was
itself,
crap. It was bad. Like I love my kids and they did so well. And then do you know what? They did exactly what I wanted them to do. And of course I said, this is amazing because it's what I said. It's what I told them to do. I'm giving them this structure and this scaffold of how to succeed. And they're doing it. But I know deep down in the back of my head, as just like a person who reads stuff and knows writing, I'm just like, I find it gutting that I've not really fostered that imagination or that idea of how a story works or it being, like I said, coherent. And I really struggle teaching with writing because I feel like I'm quite good at teaching writing in terms of, I'm going to teach you how to use this in your sentences and it's beautiful and you add information that makes sense. But when it comes to a longer piece, I don't think it's very good.
Yeah, because there's a whole part of it's lost, isn't there? Like you said, I feel the same. I feel like I'm good at teaching GPS. Honestly, I'm pretty good at teaching a punctuation lesson and getting the kids at the end of it to write sentences that have that piece of punctuation in it correctly. But yeah, like you said, when it comes to a bit of writing, but I feel like I'm starting to turn like changed the way I teach now quite a lot. I'm really moving away from those sentence level lessons where it's like,
I think
today we're doing noun phrases.
Yeah.
I've really stopped using that language, and I'm starting to do just things like, today we're looking at how this author creates description in this paragraph.
Sure.
And then all I'll be thinking is, when I'm modeling it, I say I do this. I'm very much trying to do this.
Yeah,
I'm not quite there yet, but I'm really trying to do this, right? I'm trying to honestly just stop using the grammar terms very much at all, and then just we'll play the game when it comes to the GPS test. Honestly, we'll mention those grammar terms later. But at the moment, it's like, I just want a model writing that has the thing in it, lots and lots and lots and lots and lots, and then okay, you write a paragraph, and just hopefully, because we've been modeling that specific thing loads, they'll naturally kind of do it in their writing. But it doesn't always work, you know.
There's that works for some, but not for others. For example, with noun phrases, right? I actually don't think you ever need to explicitly teach noun phrases in writing, because all noun phrases are is describing a noun.
Yeah, just teach
like
how to describe
you will
stuff.
naturally do that when you describe, like that will happen. However, when it comes to like using a semicolon, or when it comes to honestly putting an adverb at the front of a sentence and stuff like that, I get you could kind of take away the fact it's an adverb, but you still have to really solidly teach the structure of building that sentence. And when it comes to speech, right? Okay, cool, but I do need to teach you that the reporting clause is here, then the comma comes there, and then this, and then I've got to really be bitty with the mechanics of it. And I feel like that takes precedent across the board before, actually, let's just write a really good piece of writing. What I'd like to see more of, and maybe some schools do this, and I'd love to hear if you do, is just this is what I tried to do, but this is the point I'm making. I tried to just give them a prompt and just say, just write for me.
Yeah.
I had them on the board.
Yeah.
I wanted to see them because I feel like that's what I've got to do. But what I said to the kids was, honestly, I want to see two things in this writing. I want to see action and description. And that's all I said to them. I said, I want to see action and description. I want you to describe where he is, what's around him, and I want him to do something. So some of them had some cool ideas, like Varjak jumped on top of a car because the idea is he wants to talk to a car. He thinks they're dogs, and he needs to recruit a dog to help him at home.
Yeah.
And he thinks the cars are dogs because they're monsters, they're loud, they growl and stuff like that. So there's some really cool ideas, but it's just lacking that flow, and maybe it's because they're 9.
Yeah, I was going to say,
know.
it's got to come into the play at some point. I do feel like we've lost touch with like age when it comes to writing. Like the end of year 6 objectives, the end of year 6 levels is like, oh, perfect writers. Yeah, I'm like, is that realistic? Come on, they're 10 and
what
11.
What do you care about really? Because honestly, like if I read some of that writing, my gut now as a teacher was, oh God, I wouldn't be able to tick anything off on that assessment sheet. Oh, they haven't quite done this to an extent. And okay, even those who have, they've lost the story flow. Really? I should be able to, as a teacher, sometimes just look at writing and go, wow, that's a cool idea. That's imaginative. And I understand that this action led to this consequence, led to this action. Actual building of a story without being obsessed with, or by the end of year 4, I need to be able to put a preposition in the right place.
I agree.
I just really struggle with it.
Can I say the best writing unit I've ever taught with my kids was last year. It was planned by my job share, Julie.
It was planned by me.
Yeah, it wasn't planned by me. Planned by my job share, Julie. It was like a whole week's unit, right? And it went totally kind of off script, is what we normally do. It was really, really different and out there. She spent so much time on this. She spoke to her friend who's a secondary school English teacher and was like, how do you guys do it? Because I feel like we're not nailing it in primary school, basically what you were saying.
I don't think.
And the English teacher really helped her. And you know what? We didn't do any of it in the week on grammar terms. None of it at all. Yeah. We spent the whole week looking at loads of quality texts, reading them, unpicking them. Then we had sheets all around the room where we were picking out phrases and vocab we liked. 100%. We did a whole lesson on the structure and how it makes you feel as a reader. I love that. Why did they do a one-line paragraph there? Yeah. What did it make you feel? Yeah. Did you notice they repeated that word 3 times? Why did they do that, do you think?
That should be writing.
That stuff, right? Writing. Best writing I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. And we didn't even mention noun phrases. Yeah. We didn't mention anything
because
else.
You're absolutely right, because we had that training recently about writing, and the phrase that will stick with me really strongly is the text is the teacher. Yeah. So it's where I think we fall down massively in writing is I'm stood at the front modeling how to use a fronted adverbial 4 times in a row, then they do it and they just plonk one in because of the sake of plonking one in, or they plonk some parentheses in for the sake of just adding extra information. Yeah. It needs to be completely warped. And I might be preaching to the converted here. Maybe I'm behind on my writing teaching, and this is very normal, but I feel like this is a widespread problem where the assessment comes before the actual process and enjoyment and the act of writing.
The creativity almost.
Because what should children do? Of course, they should literally be magpieing. Yeah. How on earth can we expect children to come up with amazing stories? They can't. They're children. What they should do is read fantastic text, like you said. The text is the teacher. Yep. So we're going to take from this. We're going to use this structure. We're going to change who the characters are, but you're going to build suspense because you've read suspense here.
Exactly, yeah.
And this is where my knowledge is floundering. Like, if I wanted to build suspense, I would not have a clue where to start in terms of there'll be people out there right now who are going, oh my God, you have to use this book for suspense in chapter 7.
Yeah.
I just don't have that. And I feel like there's a long way to go to build that back up. But I think what's holding us back is the curriculum and the assessment profile of writing. That's holding us back into being less good teachers at writing because we can get through a tick box at the end.
Yeah.
And it makes me sad. I think we're suppressing writers, and I just don't like it.
I've been to enough writing moderations in year 6 to know how depressing it is. That
Exactly.
honestly, the end game is there is no one cares about the creativity. Genuinely, no one cares. All it is you sit there with your tick list, and you go through, and you're just making sure you can evidence all of the grammar curriculum. Honestly,
Yeah, that's
and
what
the
I mean.
punctuation stuff, and a little bit of flow. Like if it genuinely makes absolutely no sense, then they'd start saying, okay, this doesn't make any sense though. But on the whole, then no one really cares about the flow.
Do you ever sit down and read like you've written in year 6 an amazing like thriller piece where you're really building suspense because someone's walking along a creaky floorboard goes and it's dark and oh God, they see something run across. No one cares about that.
No.
It's just like, oh, did you put a semicolon in there to join 2 clauses that are quite linked?
Yeah.
Oh mate, I get that that's important to understand. I'm not degrading that. I quite like teaching that. Like you said, it's quite formulaic. It's like maths almost.
Yep.
I don't mind teaching it, but what do I actually want from the kids when I read their writing? Really interesting, imaginative writers who are making the reader feel something.
Yeah, I agree.
That's really all I care about.
And if a kid who was maybe a bit lower in ability in terms of like all the grammar terms wrote a little paragraph, but it was really good in terms of the structure of it and the way it made you feel, but every sentence started with there weren't really many conjunctions in it. It was quite basic in its form, like in the structure.
No sentence structure varied
but
too
it
much.
built tension because they thought some nice words to use.
Yeah.
They honestly, they wouldn't, in this current system, they just wouldn't get picked up as a good writer as much as someone who didn't, like you said, like with your Vajak Poor stuff, didn't really have like much flow to it or like the tension didn't really build up, but they've got varied sentence starters. They've used a range of conjunctions that we've taught recently. And look at those adjectives. That's an expanded noun phrase. Well done. They've even tried to use brackets in that sentence. Tick that off. And it's like, didn't even warrant brackets in this. Right? It doesn't make any sense to use brackets in this suspense paragraph. But that's the sad thing. Anyway, we could talk about this forever. We should. I mean, I'm sure we'll come back around and do an episode on writing at some point.
Absolutely. I'll be very excited to. But that was my point, basically. As a teacher, sometimes you sit there and think, wow, we talk a lot about success and like, I know the right thing to do and this is what we should do. We're going to talk about it in a minute, actually, what we think the right thing is. But I think it's really, really important sometimes just to sit there and go, do you know what? I am struggling with this. I really don't think it's hitting the mark. I wish it was completely different. We're giving our kids a good curriculum, don't get me wrong, and they're learning how to write. We're doing lots of writing. I just feel like the scaffold around it, the structure, the purpose would be much better suited to just being a bit different.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's go on to our fixing, shall we? Or do you have a few things you wanted to show me first? Maybe we could do that.
I do, yes. I want to do a little section before we move on. And it's inspired by last week when I mentioned that we used to do riling you up back in the early days of the podcast. So I've got a couple of screenshots on my phone, right, of things on the internet. I've not shown Dylan for full context. I even said, do you sure you don't want to see him just before? And he's like, no, live, raw reactions.
Yeah, well, you said to me, do you want to know like roughly what they are so you can start thinking? It's like, no. Yeah. So if there's a bit of silence here, guys, I'm regretting my decision.
Yeah. Now, there's 3 things, right? You've got a choice here. You've actually got a bit of a choice. 2 of them are just like, I just saw them and I thought, I've got to tell Dylan this because he'll just rile him up. Right. One of them is, I read it on a forum and I've seen this question loads of times and I still just have no clue what the answer is.
Give me that one first.
I want your opinion.
Yeah.
All right, okay. Let me find it first.
You don't know what the answer is?
Yeah. No, I just don't know what, I don't know what to, I didn't comment on it because I was like, I actually don't know what the advice is.
Wow, you didn't comment on it.
I didn't comment on it. I didn't get keyboard warrior. So here we go. So it's based, in a nutshell, because, I'll keep it anonymous. The person said they got sick at school and they blamed it on their class. They said there's lots of sickness bugs going around. Yeah. They ended up catching it as well and were off for a couple of days and they missed their PPA day. And then they were back in that week. And they're basically just saying, should I get my PPA back? Because they still use the lesson planning that they did for that week and all the stuff. They've still got to do all their planning.
Yeah.
But they weren't in on the day that they get PPA. So should they get the PPA back? And I've seen that question loads of times. And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But what was your opinion? Because you might not know either.
Well, my instinct, my gut instinct and my opinion are slightly different.
Yeah.
My gut instinct is that is unfortunate but tough. What I'm saying is I think it's normal if you're sick on your PPA day. It's normal to not have it moved around. Let's say you're off for a week or whatever it is. Like you said, the amount of planning you did hasn't changed, but you were sick on that day. Sorry, like that's what I think it is. I don't know if it should be that, but my opinion is right. If your workload genuinely, literally hasn't changed, you are being penalised for being sick. And instead of it will go down as a sick day on Tuesday, let's say, right? But really, all it's done is it's moved that Tuesday work to Sunday when you're feeling a bit better because you still need to get it done for the next week.
PPA work.
Yeah, the PPA work.
Yeah.
So, and the work you would have done anyway at the weekend outside. So it's a really weird one because, you know, in the real world, if people are sick, depending on their job, they do have to catch up.
Yeah.
That is the reality of it. Like if you're sick, you have to catch up. If you're in an office and you've got to work through 100 different like claims or something and you're off sick, you've still got your 100 claims. Someone else might be able to pick up and help you a bit, which is what happens anyway in a school. They help you with other ways. Like you don't have marking and stuff. But at the end of the day, you still need to get through your list. So you're going to have to catch up a bit.
Yeah.
I feel like it's one of those things where it's like really unfortunate, but I don't know if you have a leg to stand on.
So it's quite funny you said that because I haven't got them on my phone, but I remember reading the top 2 comments were literally those 2 things you just said. The first person was like, "No, just get like you are off sick, just get over it. You're back in school now. You can't help being sick. No one can plan for that. It would be really chaotic if we had a system where it's like now someone's got to suddenly find 10% PPA for you in the week when it's not remotely planned for.
Yeah.
And the other person was like, "No, you're entitled to 10% of your teaching time. So whatever your teaching time is, the rest of that week, 10% of that should now be your PPA."
Yeah, but if you're off all week, do you not get any? Like, that doesn't work, does it?
Missed the whole week?
Yeah. Is that just cancelled out? No, because you still need to do your planning. So I don't know if that point's the best point.
No.
My opinion there is sick pay is just slightly different. You're getting paid to do nothing, by the way.
Yeah.
Like I know you're sick, but you are still getting paid. So
I'd love to know what the actual like union advice is. So if anyone knows, anyone's like listening to this thinking, I know this answer because I've been there and I've done it. Like,
spread it because then we can say it in the podcast, more people know it, and then it's out there.
Yeah, genuinely.
Knowledge is power because some people just don't know stuff.
Yeah,
and we don't know.
So I thought that was interesting.
Okay.
Because normally I feel like I know stuff. That one got me.
Right, give me one other one, and then we'll go into the main bit.
All right. One other one.
Yeah, what are you going to go for?
Okay, this one's a good one.
Okay, cool.
This will rile you up. In a staff meeting last night, I was chastised for not staying to help at the disco.
Oh, for God's sake.
I was told it was an expectation.
Oh, for God's sake.
I've got a young child at home. I literally just can't do it. Can anyone clarify this is allowed? It's after 6 p.m.
No, obviously not. Right, unless you at the start of the year have a directed time calendar, you've all agreed that this is part of directed time because it's been taken from XYZ.
I think they made it quite clear that was not the case.
If it's not the case, you don't have to go. Let them chastise you. This is something I've learned in education, right? There are always going to be people out there who do exist, by the way, because we did a post about martyrs and the amount of people who commented saying, these people don't exist, they're just trying to get the job done. It's like, I'm telling you, I've met these people that you very clearly defined as a martyr. They're martyrs at that point.
Yeah.
If they're saying to you, it's an expectation that you have to come to the school disco, in the evening when you have a child at home for your job, tell them to get stuffed. Don't do that. Just say to them, no, sorry, I can't do that. And then when they say it's an expectation, say, okay, well, when will I get this time back? Or how much overtime will I be paid for doing this?
Yeah.
No, you won't be. It's Section 8 of the teacher standards. Don't let anyone ever say that to you. Section 8 of the teacher standards has nothing to do with doing extra work outside of school hours.
For free.
It's not about that.
No.
Section 8 of the teacher standards is about setting an example in the wider school, presenting yourself in a certain way. And even if you want to go to Section 2 of the teacher standards about being outside of school, still being respectful and professional, read the teacher standards. There is absolutely nothing in there about having to do discos. Because I remember being a student teacher and them saying, why don't you do a school disco tonight? It will tick off teacher standard 8. And I'd be like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. Because I didn't think twice about it. No, read it. You absolutely do not have to do that. People will be annoyed at you. Here's something I've learned. I'm getting riled up.
The section's working.
Here's something I've learned as a teacher, okay? Setting boundaries will rub some people up the wrong way.
Yeah.
And you setting yourself boundaries is going to be difficult if you also really care what other people think about you. And really caring what your colleagues and people think about you is completely normal. Don't feel like you're strange or bad or weird for honestly wanting that validation from your peers. That's completely normal human response. However, you at some point have to decide, would you rather feel awkward because you get a bit chastised from your colleagues, but you have your evening with your son, or does your colleague's opinion matter more than spending that hour with your child in the evening? Let's be honest. It's obvious which one is the best option for you.
Yeah.
Let them chastise you. They're in the wrong. Don't let these people control your life.
Yeah.
Just because you don't quite like that they think you're lazy. You're not lazy. Doing the bare minimum as a teacher is already someone who is not inherently lazy. It's insane. I've heard people say this before. I've actually heard this before. This is real. A teacher saying to me, that person doesn't like working.
Yeah.
And this is a teacher who also works in the school we work in.
Work shy.
Well, they're work shy. I'm like, well, okay. And I'm at the point now where I say, well, no, that's not true though, is it?
Yeah.
Because they do come in 7:30 till 5 every day. They're just saying no to the stuff on top. So let's not set the norm as this much work. It doesn't mean someone's work shy. It means someone sets boundaries for their personal life. Get over it. And as the person setting the boundaries, it's tough to set boundaries.
Yeah.
You have to be able to accept that there will be people, no matter how reasoned your arguments are or how fair it is that you're doing it, will not want to put up with that and will make you try and feel bad. Or try and make you feel bad.
Can you imagine a whole school filled with people who actually did set boundaries? I wonder if that exists. I wonder if there must be some schools in the UK in the UK where everyone has our opinions on genuine, and it's like we are really just on it with our boundaries, and this is how our school operates.
Well, someone's response to this would be genuinely, well, how can a disco run if people don't do it? And honestly, it wouldn't probably.
Yeah.
But do you know what? At what point?
Yeah.
Do you know? Honestly,
yeah.
I'm sorry. I know. I love to do things for the kids outside of school and stuff like that. And do you know what? I might do it if not if it benefits me, but if it suits my timetable. And I'm like, okay, yeah, of course I'll do a little something.
Yeah.
I used to go to the cross countries on the weekend and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then we started doing tutoring. And we couldn't go to cross country anymore because we weren't getting any kind of pay rise off the government. So I thought, well, I'll bump my pay with some tutoring then.
Yeah.
That means I can't go to the cross country anymore. Who's going to do the cross country? I don't know. Pay me properly.
Yeah, someone else will do it for free. Yeah. I'm doing something else now.
Yeah, exactly that. So just basically, setting boundaries is we're the first people to say set boundaries, but it's not easy.
No.
That will happen. People will make you feel bad for setting boundaries.
Yeah.
You have to try and ignore it.
Most famous one, last point on this, is clubs, isn't it? How many people have we spoken to over the years, even recently, where they're like, oh yeah, in my school, everyone is literally just peer pressured and bullied into doing a club. And if you don't, you're ostracized.
Yeah.
Don't do any work. You're lazy.
Yeah.
We all do clubs. We actually do clubs for the kids because we love the kids. We actually like the kids, and you clearly don't. You don't like the kids.
We heard the story, didn't we, of someone, they go around the room and individually ask people.
Yeah.
Making the person have to say, no, I'm not doing a club. And then kind of like, okay, well, you're not doing a club. Even though you know it's not unacceptable, you're just bullying. It's bullying, intimidation. Yeah. It's tough to say no. You've just got to do it.
Do you know, I really want to just be I wish I was omnipotent and I could just go to those places.
Sorry, that's me.
And then
that's a new quote for the podcast.
I wish I was omnipotent. I wish I was, right? I want to be everywhere. I want to suddenly be in that staff room when that's happening, appear, like, maybe some sort of genie, and be like, oh, toxic, you're bullying your staff into doing this. Poof, I'm gone again. And they're all like, oh, it's awkward now for that head teacher.
Yeah, I love the idea of doing like staff meetings and stuff, like running CPD, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do it at some point in our future where it's around like how to, break down these barriers and help your staff, etc. I love the idea of helping staff.
Being efficient in school.
Being efficient in school, saying no, etc. And just completely calling out, like you said, toxic people in school. And I'd just stand at the front and I'd be like, God, some of you, I bet, can you imagine and I know this is what they do. I'd already get this off the teachers beforehand. And I'd be like, it's like when schools make people do clubs and they don't have to.
And you know it happens in that school.
And I know it happens in that school. And I look at the head teacher like, you would never do that, right? You would never just disrespect someone's time. And the head teacher's like sweating.
I definitely would never do that.
Yeah.
Problem is, in a real world, those people are manipulative and they would never book in the training because they know in advance this is a risk of the power of control I have over these people.
Such a shame. But people are going to be annoyed at you for setting boundaries. You know what? Put yourself first. Set boundaries.
Thanks for your opinions there. I enjoyed that. Maybe next week we'll do a bit more riling up for Dylan because I've still got some stuff to share with you. Enjoyed that. Should we move on to the main part of the episode?
Oh God, we've actually got an episode we planned.
Yeah.
Quite often when you, like we just said, set boundaries and talk about how the system's broken or what's annoying you, the big thing people always say is, okay, well, what's your solution? And it, sometimes it's annoying when people say it's like sometimes something can just be broken, okay? But you know what? It is important to bring a solution to the table as well. So what Hayden and I have done is we've put together a list of policies that we would immediately introduce into a school for various reasons, but most of them being, well-being, workload, children, even just what we think would improve a school immediately, and things that are kind of what we feel widespread and broken, how we think we can kind of help that.
This is my favorite thing, by the way, because how many times on the podcast have I said, oh, in my perfect school, in my made-up school, I'm always making up this school in my head, and now we get to be like, this is what we'd actually do. So I'm really excited. So
let's do it. And again, I would absolutely love feedback on this. I'd love people to say, guys, that's not realistic because of X, Y, Z.
Yep.
Or maybe they say, do you know what? Yeah. And also this, let me know what you would do. If you were just dropped in charge of a school. By the way, being a head teacher in SLT is incredibly stressful. And there are some amazing people out there working really hard who feel like their hands are tied. They've got to get stuff done. Some of that's passed on to their staff. And you know what? It's not because they're a bad person or toxic. It's because the system is so horribly broken. So just a quick heads up. What we've done here is we haven't said, oh, get more TAs in, because that's impossible. You need more money for that. Oh, don't do SATs at the end of year 6. Yeah, it's like These things aren't things we could actually change.
Yeah.
We've done 9 policies here that we genuinely think you could send this podcast to someone who you're close to an SLT or who you just know an SLT, and they could genuinely listen to it and think, well, maybe we'll do this, and this.
Yeah, definitely.
So, hey, don't want you to start us off.
Okay.
First thing that we would do, this is huge for me.
Yeah, okay. The dress policy, scrap it.
What, for children or for teachers?
For teachers. That's an interesting point, actually. We should talk about that in a minute. But for teachers, get rid of this. I mean, if you saw any of Dylan's Instagram posts where he gets annoyed about the clothes he's wearing, you'll know that we do not like the fact that we have to wear a shirt and trousers, and maybe even a tie in some schools, blazers maybe in some schools. Who knows how crazy it goes. Scrap the dress policy. Go on, you're more passionate about this. Talk about it.
Yeah, no, it's really... the reason I feel so strongly about this is because I think that the theme through this will be, and this is something I want to just remind people of, teachers are professionals. We are literally professionals who have trained in this craft, who know ourselves. We're not just some plebs who just been picked off the street to be teachers. Honestly, we're not. So when teachers feel a certain way, it is valid, and it annoys me when people from the top just go, oh no, it's just what we've always done, we can't do that. It's like, well, we can though, can't we? And this is the number one thing that comes to my head the most. When it's a PE day in school, where as teachers are allowed to come in PE uniform or PE kit, just sportswear basically for the day. So we don't have to get changed awkwardly halfway through in a toilet. Like we can just come in your PE stuff. On those days where I can come in my PE stuff, jogging bottoms, that are still not, not horribly informal, just like the nice sport jogging bottoms, trainers, a t-shirt.
Yep.
I teach better.
Comfy.
I am a better teacher. Exactly. I'm comfy. I'm comfortable. I don't look rough. I don't look like some hooligan. I just look like a person.
Yeah, and what even is that?
Gear.
Like even that, what do you mean?
Exactly.
What do you even mean? Look like a hooligan?
Yeah, exactly.
What does that even mean?
That. Like, honestly, what can you wear that looks? I'm teaching these children how to double a number. Does it matter if I'm wearing a shirt? For goodness' sake.
Do they behave differently on those days?
No, of course, no, they don't. Maybe right if initially we did this huge, massive change, and the whole staff suddenly are in comfortable wear. The kids might pick up on something like, subliminally. No, have the same expectation. Have the same. Do your behaviour the exact same. The kids do not behave worse, and I teach better. This sounds ridiculous. I feel more springy. I feel like I'm ready because I've got sportswear on. And my point here is, I'm going to try and be as extreme as possible in these points. My policy would be that there is genuinely no policy for what you wear.
Wear what you want.
I'm not going to question remotely what you wear. And the only asterisk on that is you're a professional. That's all I'd have to say to people. Wear what you want, but you're a professional. Don't wear something horribly revealing.
Are you telling me you'd trust your professional teachers to make a judgment on what clothes they can wear?
Literally.
In public.
Literally.
Yeah, because they can't. Because on the weekend, obviously, they need that structure. They have no idea how to go out and be in the public world.
And children absolutely can't possibly respect anyone not in a shirt and tie because they never ever do that ever, do they? They never. We take them swimming on a Wednesday and everyone's in swimming. I couldn't possibly respect that person because they're wearing a polo that's not tucked in. Get over it. We are creating that in school. Like that idea of, well, no, you have to set an example for the kids.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
No.
No, I don't. I'm setting an example of what a teacher looks like because you've made me look like this as a teacher.
Yeah.
You know what? If I wore sports clothes or comfy wear, that would be the new expectation of a teacher. The kids' respect wouldn't dwindle. The kids wouldn't suddenly not know how to behave around other adults. You'd still teach them how to do that. At what point do you ever teach your children to judge someone on how they look? It's the complete antithesis of what we say is really important to model to the children, that everyone's equal, treat them all the same. But not me, by the way. I'm wearing a shirt and tie. You should immediately respect me. I'm Mr. This. Don't care.
Okay, so what if then? I'm trying to be devil's advocate here and think of like the worst thing that can happen, right? You do this and genuinely you're ahead, right? And your staff come in and you actually look at them and think, oh my God, this is really bad. They're all wearing massive chains.
Yeah.
They've all got like really long fake nails. It's like totally impractical.
Yeah.
They're wearing 2 pairs of sunglasses. And because your policy is wear what you want.
Yeah, sure. Do you know what? Number one, I just think it's so unrealistic.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
But yeah, that's my initial point, genuinely. It's like, this just won't happen. Yeah. But let's say there are a couple, because there might be a couple of people like, oh, actually, that isn't actually what I'd mind.
It's a bit inappropriate,
it's just inappropriate, right? I would just get them on one side and talk to them. In the same way, right, there isn't a policy telling me exactly what script I have to say when I'm teaching.
Yeah.
I'm trusted as a professional to deliver the English lesson. If I was to say something really inappropriate in a lesson, you wouldn't then go, oh God, I need to give all my teachers scripts on exactly what to say every single time they do anything. No, you would take that person to the side and talk to them about being professional and say, that's not acceptable, obviously, because of X, Y, Z. In the same thing with the dress code.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, can I just have a word quickly? I know we can obviously wear what we want, but this is inappropriate because of that. I hope you understand. I'm not going to obviously do a new dress code because of it, but in the future, you try and avoid doing that.
Well, actually, there's no policy in this. I'm going to take this to unions. How dare you? How dare you tell me what I should?
Yeah,
what I shouldn't wear?
okay. Well, I could introduce a policy, couldn't I? And I might do that then because it's very normal to do that. It's not against union code.
Yeah.
So do you want me to introduce
The
policy?
policy is just that person. This person must wear. Yeah,
but again, I just think that's such an unrealistic. Like, it's a minute amount of people who would do that.
I agree.
And that's my. Just get rid of it.
Yeah, do you know what? I wasn't on your level of this until we had this actual conversation. I was a bit more like, no, I think there needs to be a line, and I think it should just be something loose, like smart casual or something like that.
That's so vague.
Yeah, and I would leave it vague, just vague enough because people can interpret that how they want, but they're always going to interpret it somewhere further than zero of the line. I don't know,
sure.
But you know what?
I think you're right. Anyway.
Yeah, I probably would, but I actually think you're right. I think we trust teachers for loads of other things to do right, like you said in the lesson. Yeah. Like we don't have policies on absolutely every single thing they do ever. We trust them because you're a trained professional and you know what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. We trust teachers not to swear. Genuinely, we don't have a policy that says these are the exact words you can't say. Like, come on, no one has that. Yeah. We just go, your teachers. You did 3 years of training with kids. Of course, you know how you're supposed to speak to kids and how you're not supposed to.
And if you don't, we'll sort it out.
Yeah. So you probably know how to dress as well. You know, I'm not going to rock up in my hot pants. Do you know what I mean?
Please do. That's just for the podcast, baby.
Yeah, not the whole pants that I'm wearing right now.
You don't know. You're listening to this podcast. Hayden is dressed completely inappropriately for school.
Yeah, luckily you can't see waist down on the video. But yeah, no, good point. Really, really good point. I like it. Scrap the dress policy. Stupid, archaic thing that every school does. Just because it's always been.
Yeah.
New point. Next point.
Number 2. No formal observations. Let me be really clear and say it one more time very clearly for you all in case you're getting annoyed with me straight away. No formal observations. Let me describe what a formal observation is.
Please do.
A formal observation is when you're told 3 times a year that the assistant head or the head teacher and the subject lead will come in and sit down in the back of your lesson for 25 minutes and watch you teach and pick up on all the tiny little things that you do, and it's completely pointless. It doesn't help at all. Same thing, the theme, we're professionals. Sometimes we get things wrong. Sometimes we're not doing stuff based on school policy because sometimes the policy is wrong, but sometimes we need to do something we shouldn't be doing. We need feedback. Yes, we do. Formal observation? No. Undue pressure, undue stress, especially when they're rated. Some schools still do this. They still rate teachers. Very rare now, but it used to happen a lot. And it just creates this angst. Do you know what formal observations do when they're done in the wrong way? Is they create a us and them with your teachers and your SLT. We're on the ground teaching every day. I resent you coming in and telling me that I'm doing this thing wrong that I think is insignificant. But I can't argue with you because you're my superior, blah, blah, blah. We still should get feedback. And my point here is we still should be able to have adults in our room. My point here is no formal observations, but drop-ins, hello, how you doing? How can I help you? Support daily should be the norm. Yeah. And when you see SLT walking into your room, you know it's not a formal observation. What you know is, good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning. How are you? That might be it one day. Yeah. Walk through the classroom, just looking at it.
Our school does this really well. I'm going to pick up our school because you know what? Our SLT do walk in quite a lot. Even just thinking 2 days ago, a deputy head came in and no single part of me thought, he's coming in to check on what I'm doing. I thought, he's probably coming to see.
And he might have been.
Yeah, it might have been, but I didn't think it though.
Which is fine, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think it. I thought, I don't know, he's probably just checking on the kid. Maybe there's been a concern. Maybe there's something's happened. Maybe do you know what? Maybe he's just making himself known so the kids know. Deputy head walks around.
And I tell you what, our children have an amazing relationship with the head and the deputy head. Yeah. And it's because of that. It's because of that relationship that they build by being in the room a lot. Yeah. You know, the children know who they are. They're not, they can be disciplined by them. But do you know what? 95% of the time, it's them bigging them up and just building relationships with them. Yeah. And my point here is it should be just about support for the staff. Sure. There are some staff who need feedback and support. And there are some staff, let's be honest, who are doing the wrong thing. Or let's phrase it, could be doing a better thing. Yeah, okay? Sure. The answer to that is not sat down formally going through a tick list and saying, well, actually, this person used this wrong color pen and then this person didn't quite underline their date. And by the way, pointless. Get in the bin. Don't care. Don't talk to press. Get out. Do you think, honestly, that a professional, do you think I care that the kids have written in a slightly different pen? Yeah. Maybe some professionals do, and it's at the top of their priority list, and they really are hot on that. For me, it's lower on my list, I'm afraid. You sat there telling me, I know. Some of your kids do really wonky margins. I know. Yeah. I know that. But do you know what? I'm not going to spend 5 minutes every day doing it myself. I'm not going to stop my learning because their margin's a bit wonky. I'm going to get onto how to double a number, okay? Did you see they could double a number? I could, but then the line went through that number and now I can't possibly... No, they can... Stop. Stop it.
Yep.
Give me support. Give me help. Ask how I am. Give me feedback. Please do.
Yep.
Please give me support. We've had training that's amazing. Cool. I want help. What I don't need is someone sat there with a clipboard judging and it just creating this, oh God, I've got an observation next week. I better spend 3 hours planning it. And then, oh no, the rest of my week will be worse, but that's fine because the observation has to go well. What a horrible outcome from a formal observation. When the observation, I'm being observed on Thursday. I put all my time into making this lesson amazing. God, I had to just do 2 minutes on the other lessons though. That's not better for the kids. Who's that better for?
No. And often ends in tears. Do you know what the amount of teachers I know who've ended up in tears based on this ridiculous feedback, ridiculous system? Quick question before we move on to the next one. What would be your opinion on doing neither? As in, no formal observations and no drop-ins either. It's just, we just trust our teachers. Crack on.
So
what's your opinion? This
to me is under the same bracket as when people say, get rid of Ofsted. Like, get rid of Ofsted. Trust your teachers. I'm like, all of this sounds fantastic. It's not realistic.
No.
Okay, it's not realistic. I did not say don't give teachers feedback. Don't tell teachers what they need to improve. Don't tell teachers. By the way, this can involve just praising your teachers for the sake of it. This is a big thing I want to say.
Yeah.
No formal observations. Go in and give feedback. Go in and say good morning. Go in and say, isn't your teacher an amazing maths teacher?
Yeah. Do you know what? I just want to big up again our school. I came from a school that was unbelievably, horribly toxic. That school we talked about where they just bullied staff out and people just got 30-year careers.
Ever got a compliment.
Honestly, horrendous school to work in, horrible environment, horrible SLT, genuinely horrible people. And they would literally go out of their way to make you feel bad, make you cry. They'd made so many staff cry. Like there's times where I felt like that, right? And then after coming from that environment to a normal place, right, with actual nice human beings running the school, where I had my first observation, right, and I bear in mind, I
bet you were angsty, weren't you?
But I was very angsty. I put so much work into the observation. I left the plan on the side, didn't even pick it up. It was
Bloom's taxonomy at the end.
I literally did. I had that at the end. I had Bloom's taxonomy. I'm not even joking. I had that. I think that's probably in your brain from that time. Didn't pick it up. I think he was a bit like, why have you done that? Like, you didn't spend last night doing that, did you, mate? And at the end, right, the feedback was when I had teacher, he was going round because the caretaker was off, so he was doing the bins, and he came round, right, he was in his t-shirt and he had a bin over his shoulder, and he went, oh, whilst you're there, actually, bloody good lesson today. He was like, I was really, really, really good, and just listed off just a couple of positive things. So yeah, thanks for that, mate. Thank you. You're a brilliant teacher. And then walked off. I'm sweating, thinking, okay, cool. Now let's get to the bit where you tell me I'm terrible. You know, because obviously you got to control.
You're buttering me up. You're buttering me up. You give me 7 things that I'm not doing properly,
so that you can justify not giving me a pay rise as much yet next year.
God, yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, that place I came from was horrible, and actually this should be normal. This is what it should be. Like you can just give praise. You don't have to be like. There's not always feedback.
It's so
anyway,
true.
Sorry, I went off on a rant.
No, it's good. You're absolutely right. Let's go to number 3.
Okay, number 3. So this is, I guess,
you're passionate about this.
Yeah, I didn't really explain this to you when I was talking about this. But so rebalancing the curriculum, I would just. This is maybe a bit more wishy-washy, but I am actually.
Go on, try and be specific. Go on, what would you do?
I am getting a bit sick of maths and English taking up so much time of the week, to the point where we're always like, oh, how do we fit in all these other subjects? How do we fit in all these other subjects? Completely ignoring the fact that we spend so much time in maths and English. Do you know what? Cut maths in half then. Right. Maybe not in half.
Yeah.
Cut a little bit of maths off. Do you know what? Do 4 maths lessons a week. I really genuinely believe that there is space for doing that. I'd love to just shake up the curriculum in the school and get rid of this norm, which is like 5 maths lessons, 5 English lessons. It takes up 70% of your week. Yeah. No. Okay. Do you know what? No. I'm scrapping an English lesson a week. Get over it. Do you know what?
We'll do writing and reading in history.
And we're gonna do it. We're gonna get into some more. We're gonna do something fun. Yeah. I just feel like fun. Like I want kids to. You know what my opinions are. Everyone knows what my opinions are on this podcast about primary school is to get kids engaged with subjects, honestly, and then they can go to secondary school and actually learn difficult stuff.
Okay. Can I push back on it a bit?
Go on.
I completely agree with what you're saying about having fun in primary school and stuff, especially with the core subjects, aren't they? The foundation subjects, sorry. Yeah. I agree with you completely, and I do think there is scope to reduce stuff, right? Yeah. But we frame this as realistic advice, realistic policy. I'm just going to say it now. There's only one reason that happens. It's because of SATs data, and it's because of league tables and stuff. So my genuine question to you is, would you still do this? Yeah. Okay. Because part of me also. Do you think it wouldn't affect it? I don't think it'd affect it. Right. Okay. I think it'd be positive. Right. I think we are caught in such a trap in this country, and it is government top down of more is better. Yeah. Like if you do more maths, they'll learn more, and I just think there is a cap. Yes. I feel like there's. I don't know the research, but I feel like I've seen things that have pointed towards research before. That's like, oh, actually.
there is a point where if you do any more, it actually just overloads them and then they don't even remember all the other stuff. You get a surface level knowledge of everything and they don't really learn anything. Yeah. And it's like, do you know what? I genuinely reckon, I'm going to put myself out here right now, if you gave me 3 maths lessons a week, rather than 5, I reckon I could get my kids to the same point at the end of the year.
The same point.
I genuinely think
the
that.
same kids to the same point.
Same kids to the same point. Okay. I really think that. I honestly think we could have two lessons a week, but just don't do any more maths.
And just for context, anyone who might be a new listener, by the way, just so before you carry on, you are a maths lead. Yeah. You're not someone here who's like resents maths.
And I'm teaching you. I've taught you 6 for loads of years. I know what the SATs are like. I know what it's like prepping for kids for the SATs. Yeah. I genuinely, wholeheartedly believe that if I had 3 maths lessons instead of 5 per week, I'd reshuffle how I do things. I'd rethink my long-term plans, my medium-term plans. But I reckon I could get kids to the same point. Do you reckon? Yeah, honestly.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
I think so much time is wasted. I really do. And so much time is like, oh, the kids are completely exhausted and knackered. Let's do more of it then.
Okay, well, do you know what? I'm going to move straight into the next one because it's linked. Okay, so we're still in the same discussion here. The next thing that we'd introduce, because we're doing this as a force, you can tell probably some of us have stronger feelings about what they're like. But I am 100% behind this next one.
So am I.
Is completely banning interventions during other lessons, within lesson time. So context, what happens in a lot of schools, completely normal, by the way, not digging anyone out who does this, it's normal.
Yeah, I can't imagine any schools don't do this.
Exactly that, but... How many times have you, as a teacher, been stood in the front of your class? You've spent hours planning this lesson. Oh my gosh, it's a really cool geography lesson for these kids.
Geography's back.
Oh yeah, I've spent hours doing it. It's a lovely latitude lesson. I can't wait to teach. I know, but you've got to really engage in it. You've got your kids you want to teach them. It's the only time these kids might do ICT, let's say. Yeah. Okay, let's say there's one time a week, one little slot where they do ICT, and there is this kid who loves ICT so much. It's their thing. So, oh my God, I've done 5 hours of maths. I've earned this 40 minutes of ICT. I can't wait to do it. Knock on the door. Knock. Hi, yeah, can I have this, and this kid, please? I've got an English booster to do with them. Devastated. Yeah. I've seen children crying with sadness because I had to take them out of a group to do a group. I had to take them out of a lesson they loved because they had to come and do some maths with me. Yeah. Again, full disclosure, we're maths leads, okay? I hate it. Yeah. I hate it with a passion. And it's almost like the cap you're talking about. There is room for intervention. I know that. I know interventions can have
same
a big
day
impact.
Particularly, I think it's quite good.
I've done interventions before where there has been a tangible increase in the child's ability to do something. But you know what also happened to that child? They didn't get any ICT for that term. Yeah. So their ICT dipped. Okay. At what point do we say that's fine because it's maths? Yeah. At what point do we say, no, guys, stop it? They're going to get to where they get to. It's okay. It's so what if their arithmetic score was 6 marks left? Honestly, so what? Yeah. Who cares if an 8-year-old on an arithmetic test gets 28 or 36? I don't care.
And that's 8 marks, so you shouldn't be doing the intervention. No, I
totally don't care. If the cost was that child didn't do ICT for the term, or was pulled out of PE, or didn't do any subject you can even think of, because we'd never pull them out of maths to do maths. Yeah. We'd never pull them out of English to do history.
Yeah.
Would we?
No, of course we wouldn't.
We could be like, no, of course not. They have to do their history. Yeah. They have to do their history as well as their English.
It's about the holistic approach, isn't it? That's what we're talking about here. There's a holistic, we're losing the sense of holistic approach. The primary school is about everything. It's about exposure to everything and getting kids inspired to learn, right? And we don't do that when we constantly take them out of subjects they love to do more subjects they hate. Because by the way, most kids that aren't very good at stuff don't like the subject. That is the catch-22. You generally don't like things as much if you don't feel like you're very good at them. So to be brought out after 5 hours of doing it in the week, we're going to do more of this, by the way. You know, you didn't get it in 5 hours of specific teaching. I'm going to take you out for 20 minutes and we're going to do some more. It's like, oh, okay, brilliant. That's what I needed.
Yeah. But it's all right. Every week you get 5 hours of maths and 40 minutes of ICT, or you get 5 hours and 40 minutes of maths and no ICT. Yeah. Who are we?
On paper.
Like, look at that now. Are you stupid. Joking?
Yeah, I agree.
Are you joking?
Can I give another perspective to this? Yeah. Because that was very child-centered, and that's where it should be. I'm going to take a bit more of a selfish perspective as well.
Not like you.
Shut up. I got scammed. Leave me alone.
Child got scammed.
You can't be mean to me.
Hi, this is the Mass Booster hotline. You have to come out of ICT, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it's oh no, yeah. For God's sake, ridiculous. Anyway, right, from a selfish point of view, I am. You know, I said losing the will to live as a teacher a few episodes ago.
Yeah, I do remember.
I am losing the will to live as a teacher when I, like you said, I've spent ages planning a lesson and it's 2 hours long. I've got to deliver it. I've got all the sheets ready. I've got everything ready. People are going to look at these books.
Differentiate to the 10th.
Differentiate,
you've got so many
right?
different children in your class.
Yeah, exactly. So many children in my class. I've really put extra work in for those children at the kind of lowest ability in my class. Because I want them to, absolutely, because I want them to enjoy the subject as well and achieve something. Oh, every single lesson, specifically during the input of it, they're going to be taken out to do more maths, which they can't do as well. Okay, brilliant. So when are they going to come back in? Oh, just as you start the task. So they're not going to know anything, and then I have to work with them. Okay, brilliant. So I'm at the point where I said to a teacher the other day, and they know I'm just being like exaggerating. I literally said, I'm going to stop teaching in the afternoon, and we're just going to watch YouTube and have some fun, because I am sick of teaching lessons and having kids pulled out every 3 seconds that literally are the ones that need to be in there here the most.
Sure.
And it just drives me absolutely mental.
That's the problem. It's the children who have to be in that room.
And do you know what? I just want to say, I don't blame the staff. I take kids out for groups. I don't want to do the groups, but I take them out. I'm not blaming anyone at my school or any other school that has to do it. It's the top-down pressure that I'm annoyed with that is forcing schools to be like, yeah, but even though we think ICT is important, and on policy we say it's really important, and if Ofsted came, we suddenly wouldn't do interventions that week. We actually are going to be judged by this data, so we need to do something.
So what you're saying is basically, as a leader, you would take that first step to be like, guys, I know it's on me, it's my risk.
Take the flak.
Okay.
I take the flak, gift of the gab, talk to Ofsted, whatever. We'll work through it. I'm just not doing it. I'm not prepared to take kids out of
Oh, your data's bad. Yeah, but all my kids do ICT every week.
Yeah. Does that matter? No. Okay. I guess I'll start doing that. Immediately bonded. But no, I do it.
Cool.
Whatever.
Right. Next one. This is again extreme. I feel strongly about it. I think it doesn't matter. I've had discussions and I respect other people's opinion.
Yep.
I would love to know what you think. This one is no written marking. None.
Wow.
0.
Okay.
Zilch.
My first question to you is...
Nada. Nothing.
Nothing at all. I think I understand that bit.
Zoop.
Oh, none.
0.
How much written marking?
No.
No.
I'm really running out of words with 0.
yeah, that's pretty good. You got more than I would think.
I said zup. I don't realise.
Zup.
Something that starts with a Z sounds like it means 0. Zello.
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 It just sounds like you're doing some strange accents.
Zop.
Anyway, this is getting crazy. So
zinc.
You're putting me off so bad here. My first question to you, Dylan. Thank you. This is a serious podcast for professionals.
No written marking.
Is okay. What feedback do children get then?
Oh, none.
They get no feedback.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. That's what people hear when they say no written marking. They don't think about it for more than 2 seconds. I'm not.
Well
this
well
is
done.
very much like when I say no formal observations. I'm not saying don't give feedback to your staff. I'm saying no formal observations. When I say no written no written marking, I'm not saying let's not give children feedback on what they need to do better or what they've done well.
All right.
So let's get that through everyone's head who's annoyed at me immediately for saying this.
Yeah.
No written marking means don't spend an hour after school when the kids aren't in the building writing something down they can't even read or understand, and then they'll have absolutely no impact on their ability to do anything in the next lesson
Do you
anyway.
think there is 0 room for it? Genuinely?
No.
Absolutely nothing.
I think you could very much justify doing something. But I think this job is a bottomless pit where you could justify doing almost anything more.
Yeah.
You could justify looking at your planning for next week and spending an extra half an hour adding some stuff in. Don't do it though.
Yeah.
You could justify it. Same for writing. You could justify if you want it. You could.
Sure.
You could write something in the book that says really encouraging for the child.
Okay.
But you know what I think is more powerful? Just say that to them. Just literally say that with words to the children. Like say or you've written it down on a piece of paper. You've done I like the one sheet thing. That's like a middle ground to me.
Yeah.
Where you might flick through the books.
Jot down some notes.
And then just give some verbal feedback. That's like a really nice
whole
middle
class
ground.
feedback. That kind of
Exactly, because that's what that's doing is basically, to me, that's again, it's not really written feedback. Don't sit with the 32 books writing something in every book.
Yeah.
What that does is it at least, has some kind of policy in place that ensures the feedback's happening.
Sure.
Again, I trust teachers to do feedback, but I think that's a nice middle ground where it's going to save a lot of teachers' time. You're still getting the feedback in terms of you've written it down at least. So tomorrow you're like, oh, do you know what? No matter how good we think we are at doing it, there are definitely kids we miss on verbal feedback because we just forget. Like tomorrow, like, oh God, yeah, no, I did want to talk to them about that. The one sheet thing's a nice middle ground. To me, that still counts as no written marking.
Sure.
So what I'm saying is...
Not writing in their books.
Yeah, there should be 0 expectation to sit through 96 books every day and then someone picks up a book for a book look and goes, excuse me? Where is the positive feedback on the next step for every single lesson. I can't see it. You mustn't have given them any feedback. Oh, sorry, no. You've got VF written in the book, so you must have talked to them. Get up. Nothing should have to be in the book. Zero. It's pointless.
So
Again,
funny.
it's just pressure. You're giving year group leaders jobs they don't have to do. Oh, this week I'm doing a maths book. Look, could I please have 3 maths books? And I'm just going to take these names off the pupil premium list, which is completely arbitrary because they need to make sure they're getting the written feedback, which doesn't help them at all.
Yeah,
Nothing
it's
to
an
do with
optic.
it.
It's an optic, isn't it? Most of the time, I find it where I struggle with this. Right, genuinely, maybe you can help me with this. Is I think again with maths, going back to I put a bold statement out there that I could do it in 3 lessons rather than 5. I also think I could never ever look at a maths book and I'd still make really good progress with the kids.
Sure.
And honestly, there might be a dip, but it would be so negligible compared to the amount of time saved that it was worth it. I'll plan a better lesson.
I like looking at a maths book.
I will still look at them. Do you know? But what I'm trying to exaggerate here is the idea that I don't need to mark maths books. Honestly, by the time I finish the lesson, I know exactly where they are because I've been with them for an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
An hour, and I was with them for an hour yesterday when I taught the previous. I know exactly where they all are. Like for Christ's sake, what do you think we're doing in that time? I don't need to mark their books. Genuinely, we self-mark every single day, and I'll flick through them. Like you said, I'm kind of looking for whole class feedback. I'm flicking through, thinking, is there a massive misconception here being made? Because if there is, I'll address it. If there's not, you know what? Okay, that's fine. We're doing all right then. I'll do some stars on this.
I'm going to do some stars on this.
I'll come back to this later anyway. But with English, I really struggle. with this concept of no written marking because maybe it's because I'm in year 6 and I've often worked with like quite able writers as well, where I'll write them some feedback and they really genuinely understand it and then implement it. And I just can't imagine a system where I can speak to all 32 of those kids daily and give them verbal feedback. I just don't. I can't see that happening. I can't see a system that's good.
Yeah, so
isn't me writing in their books.
I guess I think you make a really good point about the more the older the children get. I mean, that's a really good point because you're absolutely right. That does impact their understanding of marking and stuff. Honestly, with a lot of children, year 3 and 4, if you write down in their book, use conjunctions. Yeah. It honestly does nothing. It does nothing. That it doesn't matter.
Do you know what the proof is? It does nothing.
Yeah.
It's because before you spent 10 seconds writing that book, you spent 1 hour on a lesson that was all about conjunctions, telling them 50, 60 times what conjunctions are, modelling it, and their task was doing, and they didn't do it.
Yeah. So all I think that has to come from that is, okay, let's say most of the class can't do conjunctions. I'm going to do it again. Let's say 2 of the class can't do conjunctions. Next time you do conjunctions, make sure they're your focus.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think it needs to be in the kid's book. So even when I'm thinking about year 6, maybe you could set me straight here. They've done a piece of writing. The kids really take into account, okay, my next step was use semicolons, right?
Yeah.
Do you mean tomorrow? Do you mean go back and do it in your work now? Do you mean next time you literally do semicolons anyway? Sure. Like, in what way is that doing something with the children that wouldn't be happening anyway through your planning?
Yeah, okay. I'm going to flip this a bit because I think you're focusing on, hilariously,
the thing that we talked about earlier.
English earlier, right? Yeah. I think those things is absolutely fine to keep a whole class sheet, genuinely, like a spreadsheet if you want, of kids that still can't do stuff that you've taught, and then you can just feed back to them as and when if you have a good teacher has a good understanding of what the kids need, right?
Because it's more powerful when it's face to face, by the way. It's way more powerful.
I agree. That doesn't need to be in their books all the time. You could just have that separately, and you know as a teacher, this is what I need to work with. When it comes to you want to write a paragraph, you want to have an actual conversation with the kids of why this structure of that paragraph doesn't quite flow properly. I feel like you need to have a proper conversation with them, right? I think that's better. I do think that's better, but I don't want to do nothing. And I'm like, it's hard to. I couldn't write that on a whole class feedback. I want to give them something, so I'll at least write them a sentence of. Maybe I'll underline these 2 sentences don't really flow very well. I don't know.
You know what? I'm going to say now. I don't think that's bad.
No. But do you think I could get rid of that and not have much impact? That's what you're saying. Like, could I? Because that will it takes me at the moment like 2-3 hours, honestly, to mark one English lesson.
Exactly.
It takes me so long to mark it.
There has to be. We talked about this before. The scale, the time in, and the impact out.
Yeah.
And too many people just look at the impact out and go, "Well, if there's something in the impact out, then it's worth doing." That's not true. Yeah. If the impact out is, I'm going to make up a unit 5, and the effort in is 100. It doesn't matter that.
I know what you mean.
It's not just 5. Oh, it's 5% better. No. You put in so much effort. Remove it. Don't do it. My point there is, I don't think you need to do that.
Yeah, sure.
I don't. Sure. I think through your teaching, right? You, for example, saying 2 sentences don't quite work together. That's gonna be covered when you look at new texts. Yeah, when you look at stuff and you expose them to it. Then having it written in their book, I just don't think. Honestly has enough of an impact.
Last point on this, we'll move on to our next one. But I saw some research recently, and I watched a video of some guy, I think he did the research, and he was summarizing what he did about marking, right? And he had 3 control groups. One was the children received like a score, like classic, like out of 10 score, or like a grade for their work. And that's all they got. Didn't get any other feedback. And another group only got feedback. I think it was written, but it could have been verbal as well. But the point was there was no score or grade attached to it. It was just how to improve.
Right.
And then there was a middle control group that had both.
Right.
And really, really, really interestingly, the study showed that children that just got a grade, that process of marking, giving them a grade, did not help them make progress in any way. Like it was as good as, I think there was another one, to be fair, that didn't have anything at all.
Sure.
It was as good as that.
Right.
And then the ones that just got feedback and no grade, it was proven to have a significant impact on their progress, because they actually knew what to improve on. They weren't caught up in but you're rubbish.
You got 6 out of 10.
Yeah, you got an F in this, whole grading system.
Yeah.
And the one in the middle I was really interested in, because I feel like schools do this, because obviously we're all martyrs and we do the absolute worst possible option where we do all of the work. We give them grades quite often for lessons. Like, our school might highlight, other schools do stickers, other schools will do like another different color or something that means they did well. They got a grade and they got the feedback, and it had the exact same impact as just the grade or doing nothing at all.
So it had less impact than just feedback.
Yeah.
So giving feedback to a child had more impact than giving feedback and a score. Yeah. It made it worse.
Yeah. And the idea, I think, what they were getting at was the grade. It just no one cares about the rest. Then they just want to know. They get into this culture of, I just want to know if I got.
Oh, am I green? Did I get this pass?
Yeah. Did I pass? Did I not? Okay, I don't care about the feedback then. I didn't pass. Don't care. I'm rubbish then.
So another thing that just clearly, but we've always given grades to the children.
Yeah, I just don't think they're useful. Okay. I think they're useful for us.
Yeah.
We can keep assessments of them for our own understanding. They don't need to know. You don't need to tell the kid, oh, you're rubbish at maths, by the way. You got 10 out of 50. It doesn't help them.
Right, I completely agree.
So, anyway, separate point.
Right, next thing we would introduce straight away. For me, I'm very passionate about this. It's about directed time. Firstly, I think directed time is just a broken system. Yep. I really do. It's this imaginary amount of hours that we've all got to be directed to do. But by the way, you've got to do everything else. Crazy. We've talked about it a million times. My point here is when I come into a school, directed time is obviously still going to exist, but it will absolutely not impact what I feel like I've got to make my teachers do.
Yeah.
So my point being, there are lots of schools out there who'll say, we've got to have an hour-long meeting after school every single week because it's part of directed time, and we'll fill it with something. Yeah. We'll have something there. My point is, unless it is actually genuinely impacting something that must be improved in your school, or something where you have to be there in person to be there with the person training you, either don't have a meeting that week. It's okay, because by the way, no one's going home early. They're going to sit and mark and do all the other stuff that's part of the job. Or B, basically, people want training when it's helpful. Doing this will just give something back to your staff. Yeah. No one sat here going, oh, I hate training. But what people are saying is, I hate pointless training. So don't just think, just because of you've got these hours to hit, don't worry about it. It's okay. Your staff are going over these hours anyway. You could do nothing extra. You could do nothing extra and direct your time doing nothing more. They're going over the hours anyway. So just check. Don't force it. I would not have every single week we have to be together to do this. Send an email. If it can be an email, send an email.
I'd ignore, like I think was what you're getting at, I'd ignore the directed time hours for the year, because I wouldn't be sat there thinking, oh,
in a positive way.
In a positive, I wouldn't be scrolling and thinking, oh, we've still got 20 hours left to use up with the staff. We've not done the whole thing. Do you know what? I wouldn't be thinking that. I'd only be checking, make sure we haven't gone over it. Sure. Anything under it doesn't matter.
I think a lot of SLT do that. But my point is, I do still think it gets trapped into, well, we do this every week because it's directed time. Yeah. We don't have to.
Do you know what my thoughts are on this? Just honestly, scrap directed time, not in a bad way.
Because this is what someone said, and it was
I saw this online. Someone wrote a letter to an MP. I'll maybe share it. We'll share it another time. It was really interesting, but I've had this thought before. Just make our hours the same as any other job, how it all works, genuinely. And it would be longer because we have more time off in like half terms.
Right, so wait, let me go ahead around this. So you're saying make it contracted that we have hours we work.
Yep.
So that in the entire year, it's equivalent to just working.
Yeah, just a normal public sector
with normal
job.
holidays.
Exactly that. So normal. What do normal people work?
37 and a half hours, 38
something
hours
like that, isn't it? So it couldn't be that for teachers because we do just have more weeks off.
So it wouldn't be fair. At that
point. To average out is something. It works out at something like 44 and a half hours a week, right? Okay. And I would love to just be like, cool. These are our working hours of the day. Yeah. Even roughly like band what it is. This chunk is your teaching time. Yeah. You have this at 2 hours after school that is administrative time. You could get your marking done and things like that. Mm. And you have this hour before school. This is administrative time as well, getting ready for your lessons and things.
Yeah, because it's like 9 hours a day, isn't it?
It works out. Yeah, quite a long day. 9 hours a day, which is a suitable amount of time.
7 till 4.
Was that right?
Yeah.
7 till 4.
So even that sounds like teachers doing longer than that anyway at the minute.
Oh yeah, so I had to
maths,
check the maths. I was like, hang on,
Or 8 till 5.
Yeah, 8 till 5. Yeah, I think that's probably, or half 7 till half 4.
Sure.
Genuinely, that's probably quite common. And I'd still give a bit of flexibility
so you're saying, sorry, very quickly, doing that every week would be equivalent to just doing a normal full-time job with normal holidays.
Yes, and nothing extra. And then build in an overtime system like every other job does. If we want to start taking teachers' time seriously and solve this crisis of retention, we need to do something drastic like that. It sounds mental, doesn't it? And I'll tell you why it sounds mental, because we've all been gaslit into thinking that teachers have to be martyrs.
And wear shirts and ties.
And wear shirts and ties. The fact that it sounds mental to do a normal working hour job as a teacher,
which by the way is 44 hours a week,
just says something, doesn't it? The fact that it sounds weird. It's like, what do you mean it sounds weird? It doesn't sound weird in any other job ever.
So true.
You get paid overtime, these are your hours, and genuinely, like I said before, you look at it. If someone goes over those hours regularly, and they're doing extra work, you pull them in, be like, what's going on? Or why something's gone wrong? Like, why are you doing all this extra stuff? This isn't right.
Can you imagine? I think what gives us honestly room to say about this is that we literally run a business as well, and we pay people, for example, to make resources and stuff, right? So let's say we're working with someone, we're saying, right, we need X amount of resources, please, all these sheets. We'll come up with either an hourly rate or a rate for the job that we think is really fair, and we work with the person. We really mindful of, like, we really value your time, so let's agree something together.
Yeah.
It is honestly like us then going, oh, by the way, can you do 10 more? Because it just got to get done. It's just got to get done. Like, I'm sorry, that would never ever happen.
It'd be like, okay, pay me for that.
Yeah,
then.
it'd be ridiculous.
Yeah. So I think I like the idea of get rid of the whole direct time system, replace it with a normal public sector working hour job. Start time, finish time, overtime. Yeah, done.
Brilliant. Okay. How about next one? I want you to talk about PPA. So you're a staff leader. You come in, and this is another policy. Okay, let's reform PPA. What would you like to see done?
It's not a quick fix. No, but I would do a massive review on it. I'd talk to the staff in my school. I think there's not probably one system that works everywhere. I talk to my staff in my school, find out what they do in their PPA, find out whether they like it, whether it works, whether it's not enough time, what kind of tasks they need more time to do, and genuinely come up with a better system. I think even like the basics, right? The bare minimum a leader should do is make sure they're even getting 10%. Because so many schools don't even actually give their staff 10%. It works out at like 8.5%.
Because an afternoon, by the way, is not 10%.
Yeah, depending on your timetable.
Like almost certainly, yeah. Almost because like if you actually look at it, the afternoon, it's basically you need half of a day. Yeah. Well, that's weird because we do English and maths in the morning and an afternoon lesson in the afternoon. Yeah,
it doesn't quite work out. Half.
It's always never.
Yeah.
Quite
So I'd review it, and I think you've thought of some nice. I'm trying to think of some of your ideas. You thought of some nice like alternatives to just doing the classic one afternoon out a week, right?
So firstly, like you said, I think it's really important to talk to your staff and individualize your PPA the way it works, because it's not going to work the same for everyone. I really agree with that. I would offer at least have the option for everyone to take it from home.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, absolutely from the start. Oh, but it doesn't quite work because of this. Make it work then. Yeah. Make it work.
It's their time.
Like move something. It's their time. Exactly that. And do you know what? I'm a teacher. If I was given the opportunity to go home, I'd probably stay half the time. Yeah. Because it's more beneficial for me. I've got stuff in school I need to do, or I've got people I need to talk to.
And then but
also, I'm a professional. So some weeks I'd be like, oh, I'm going. And do you know, some weeks I'd go and I'd do my Christmas shopping because I can do my work later and it's less busy. Yeah. Right. Do you know what? I'm professional. Leave me alone. So that's the first thing straight away. The other thing, I can't remember where I saw this. I think this might have been from a reel Mr. P talked about, where he went to do some training in a school, and it hit me as this is such a nice way of doing stuff, which is, so quite often in a school, everyone leads a subject. Yeah. Very, very normal. We've talked about a million times how it's a ridiculous thing. That's just part of the school. Okay, cool. All right, fine. That's annoying. Can't really fix that, can we? We can't come in and be like, no, we can't. Well, we need a geography lead. So this episode isn't for talking about what the government should do, etc. We do need a geography lead. So what I thought was an amazing solution this school did was everyone leads a subject. So every single week you get a day off. Yep. And the point is, this isn't a day off. Like people hear day off.
Day out of class.
A day out of class where they can do it from home if they want. They don't have to come to the building, or they can come into the building and do whatever. And the point is, half of it is PPA. So you're absolutely getting your 10% because it doesn't matter that it's half for English. You're not doing English.
Half.
Yeah, half of it's your PPA. The other half is subject leader. Yeah. It's okay. You will do your subject leadership stuff in this time. Yeah. So actually giving people time to do their subject.
I think it's a great solution.
And it's so much flexible. Imagine this, like it would help retention so much. I think. Because A, it's solving the issue that you don't get time to do your subject leadership. You just got to do it at the weekend. B, it's giving you proper PPA. And C, it's giving you a 3-day weekend. Yeah. I agree. And I know your day might be on a Wednesday. Yeah. But it's just giving you that time to go and do your admin stuff if you need to. Yeah. Like you can get your work done. Teachers are used to working in the evening at the weekend. They might still do that. But on a Wednesday, they can go to the gym at 9. Carry on working at 11. It would increase their well-being so much. I think
Oh, but then we're not maximising if they're not working all day, Dylan, then we're not getting they should be in school, because then we can, if they're going to the gym, they might not then do as much work.
It's such an insane view on this profession that just because we care about kids, right, we've got to sacrifice our lives for it. No, there can be perks to the job. This can be one of them. Get over it.
I mean, the biggest barrier there is probably, being realistic again, probably is government, isn't it? It's budget, it's funding for schools. I'm sure some schools would love to do that. They're just not a big enough school. They don't get enough funding. They don't have enough TAs or whoever, cover supervisors.
I'd really work hard to try and do it, I guess is what I'm saying. I'd look at it and be like, at the very least, PPA can be done from home. I'm not going to force you to stay in. There's stuff you can do straight away. I would really look at that other option.
And even if it was like every other week, you get a subject release time. We can't afford to do it every week, but you get something. And we'll rework our budgets. We'll
we'll do it in that PPA day so you can have the day off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's really cool. That's really cool. This is long old list, isn't it? A couple more things to finish up with. Big episode today. Next one, just a quick one actually. Is just I just have a policy, because every school has loads of policies, a managing change policy.
What do you mean?
Really strict. So it'd be literally a policy.
Changing your clothes from
managing change. Where do you change into your PE stuff? At home, because you can come in every day. Brilliant. Love this policy. A managing change policy would literally be how we change stuff in this school that's going to impact your workload. It's kind of like a workload policy. So it's tied, I guess, to it. But I'd have a really strict policy of, if we want to change anything in this school, it has to go through these steps.
Okay.
And these steps are all really thoughtful and mindful of the teacher and the TAs and the office staff, whoever it is, who have to do this work.
Right.
And it has to go through this. And if it doesn't go through this, we don't do it. Because it's very classic for school to be like, Ofsted to come in next year, we're going to change absolutely everything in the entire school. You've got to do 8 years of work in one. You've got to do it though, haven't you?
That's the big one. But you know what I see a lot as well? Someone's just passionate about their subject, which is amazing. They're leading DT. They love DT.
Yeah.
And they want to implement this really cool change. Yeah. And it's awesome.
Yeah.
But not now, please.
Yeah, because you know why?
Yeah.
The art leader is also really passionate, and so is the maths one, and they all want to do these changes at once. The school needs a managing change policy. I'd be really strict on it. I think a lot of schools have it as a tick box.
But why? What is the reason for this? Is it directly the well-being and workload?
Yeah, well-being and workload, and I need to be held. If I'm a school leader, I've got the highest count. I'm being paid the most, mate.
Yeah.
I need to be just as accountable as anyone else, if not
more accountable.
Genuinely, and that is like you should need to accept.
You should be more accountable.
Absolutely, you should be more accountable. I'm being paid twice as much as some of the teachers in that school. Of course, I am. So they need to be able to hold me accountable for their workload and their stress and their well-being. And this policy will do that. And I think it is important for leaders to recognise that they should do that, even if it means, this is only going to scrutinise me. Yes. Yeah, that is your job.
So, and part of this managing change policy, I assume, would be something like, of course, the well-being and the workload of the teacher, we need to manage that, so we can only do X amount of subjects now, and then we're going to do the rest in the future.
Yeah.
But also, I would love to see a big part of the policy being how much impact is it going to have on the children.
Yeah.
Because so often, things are brought in because they're trendy, because other schools are doing it, because they've had good outcomes, blah, 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 blah. How many times have you put so much effort into a massive change and seen little to no actual, proper progress difference in the children?
Yeah, because and usually because it's been rushed, there's not been adequate training beforehand, there's not been adequate research before this. So my policy would be like, if you want a little flow diagram, if you want to implement change, right, is a massive change in the school already happening? Yes, okay, you can't do it, done. It honestly ends there. Simple as that. Has to be, okay, put it on the school plan for later then. Next one. If it is something we can do now, brilliant. Okay, first step, research stage. Needs to be some time on that. Needs to complete a thing. Whatever the task is, the thing is,
there
you need
has
to complete
be some tangible evidence.
Tangible evidence. Yeah. Next one, the impact. What impact is it going to have? Trial it in your own school with a couple of staff or whatever. To have some sort of trial process and then get the training in.
Give them time to
or even
do
before that, get the training in. Training. Make sure everyone's really, really secure on the training. And then it's right, now we've got to actually implement all of this workload. Start thinking of, okay, you're going to start getting extra time out. Do you know what? Not doing staff meetings for the whole year. Every single staff meeting time that we were going to do, you're now going to have that time.
And that comes back to the whole director time thing.
Yeah.
Listen. If you're doing this massive implementing of change this term, scrap your staff meeting.
Yeah, seriously.
We've had this sometimes in our school where it said no staff meeting this week because we're changing RE.
Yeah, so now you got time to.
So you got time to go do it.
Always, cool. I appreciate that.
Yeah, same.
Every single time.
Yeah, absolutely. And but you can appreciate it and say, yes, how it should be.
Yeah, because it's how it should be, and thank you for doing it right.
Yeah, completely.
Exactly. So managing change, that's a big thing I'd do as a leader. I'd get that written up, I'd get that implemented and make it really impactful.
Okay, so last one we're going to talk about, and I guess we spent a lot of time talking about policies, obviously as a head teacher, policies on impacting the teachers, because we do feel left behind sometimes. Let's be realistic. You've talked about it, you put it really nicely last week about how putting the teachers first will actually put the kids first as a result. I really agree with that. Yep. But the last one I'm going to talk is very much child-centered, and I could not be more passionate about this. It is, I would absolutely ring fence as the most important part of my timetable the amount of time children get to play. Okay.
Well, their break times, lunch
I'm
times.
talking play, just play.
Okay.
This can be structured play. It could be play where they just got free play, i.e. their break times, their lunch times. If your assembly is, let's say your assembly is before break time and assembly overruns, that's fine. That's going to happen because your children might have got in late because they're lesson over. It's normal. That's normal. But the answer isn't to say, oh, well, we'll catch that up because we'll get them in at the same time. They've lost 7 minutes of their break time. They've only been out for 8 minutes or so. No.
Break time's protected.
Break time should be, honestly, as important, if not more important than the time we look at for maths. We'd always go, oh no, gosh, we miss 5 minutes of maths is awful. You're late by 5 minutes of maths every day. That's going to have a huge impact. And we all agree that's true. It's going to have an impact if you're late every day to maths. It's going to have an impact if every single day you're having 5 minutes cut off your lunchtime, cut off your break time. Not only for the kids, and this is really child-centered, I think it's so important the kids get time to play and be social and not sit at their desk and just do work constantly, because we can manufacture social interactions in the classroom, but there's nothing like the real thing when they're outside playing and getting annoyed at each other. I want my kids to get annoyed at each other on the playground. That's part of growing up. That's part, you're going to fall out with people.
Social interactions.
It's the only way you can do it. If it's manufactured so that that's minimal time, they're in the classroom. Guys, talk to your partner, please. Oh, no, don't disagree with each other. No, don't shout at each other. Just talk to your partner, please. Talk about conjunctions. Give me some conjunctions. No, there's no room for that in the classroom because it's so structured and behaviour has to be perfect because you have to do all your learning behaviours. And that's fine. But the kids aren't getting the chance to fall out. If they aren't understanding this is an all part of being a human and having interaction where you're going to not like people.
You're going to have to learn to
when are you going to learn
give
that?
and take, you know, and like when they want, I want to play this game, they want to play that game. Do you know what? We'll play your game today. Like losing that self. I agree. Social interactions should be completely protected. I couldn't agree more. Totally important. They shouldn't be given up for anything.
And this links and this policy would link to teachers as well. So like break time, golden. Okay, golden. I know you might choose to mark your maths, but I'm not going to ask you to do something ever in your break time.
It's your time.
It's your time because I know you're doing more than directed time anyway. Lunchtime. Okay, get started with lunchtime in a school. It's such a facade, isn't it? At lunchtime, it doesn't exist. But do you know what? The reason for me it doesn't necessarily exist is because I'm choosing to mark something in that time. That's my choice because then I can go home half an hour earlier. That's fine. Never, ever, ever as a leader would I ever ask any of my teachers to do anything at lunchtime. Unless it was a dramatic emergency, fine. Of course, I'm a normal human being. I'm going to do that. But it's never, ever expected. It's not like, oh yeah, we do one lunchtime duty a week.
Like scheduled.
Sorry, what? I hear teachers say that. Like, oh yeah, we do one a week. Like it's like...
You don't get a
sorry,
lunch.
what? Like, what do you mean you do one? And then you teach? Yeah, teach in the afternoon. No. That's not okay. That is not okay.
I know schools
should be part of the furniture, should it?
Yeah, I know a school, like literally someone I know personally who they do break time duty every day, 5 days a week.
Wow.
Genuinely, there's like there's quite a small school, 5 days a week, but they never get a break. And it's not built in for them afterwards either. That they can go and have a break. It literally is, if they're lucky, they've got a TA around. They can just pop to the toilet whilst they take them. It's mental. 5 days a week.
Yeah, I think as a teacher, the point some people might sit there and go, yeah, of course you can work from 8:30 to 12:30. Everyone does that in a job. Fine. Teaching, I don't think people understand how mentally exhausting it is, and you just need 10 minutes sometimes. But also, I think what people don't realize is we're not using it as a break. No one's actually going and having a sit down cup of tea for 15 minutes. No, the break is setting up the next lesson. Is maybe getting up with a bit of marking, or it is sat down reflecting.
Do you know what? Some people probably do go and have a tea for 5 minutes.
And that should be okay.
Some people do probably just spend 3 minutes of it just going to make the tea and then bring it back to the classroom and cracking on. But it gives them that chance. I agree. And lunchtime, do you know what? The sad thing is with lunchtime, I also spend it marking, but I quite regularly still end up going home at 5:30. And I think if I didn't sacrifice my lunch willingly, I wouldn't even have been able to get this job done because the school closes at 5:45. I would have been here till 6:30. That's mad. That shouldn't be. It should be a sacrifice because I then get to go home at like really early. If I go home at 3:45 because I spent an hour at lunchtime rather than going home at 4:45, okay, fair enough. That's my choice. But it's it goes so far, doesn't it? It becomes an expectation. Of course, you'll mark at lunch because then you can do all the rest of your marking after school for 3 hours. What? Anyway, so protect it. Protect breaks. I love it. Dylan, that was a really long list. It was a really long episode, but I did enjoy it.
Loved it.
So are we going to be school leaders soon?
Nah.
No, okay. No, I can't be bothered.
Not.
Sounds like a lot of effort.
And maybe we can finish with that. Huge respect for school leaders. I honestly really do. And again, sometimes we talk about bad school leaders for a number of reasons. Okay. In the past, we've witnessed it. We see it so much online. I see stories I can't fathom. And I think that's testament to the leaders we work with, who I do genuinely think have our interests at heart and still have these unbelievable pressures where they've got to get stuff done as well. It's such a hard balance to strike. I think it's really hard. And it is not a job for the faint-hearted. But do you know what? These things, send them to your SLT. Send them to someone in your school. Do you think they're realistic? Are they just complete poppycock? I don't know. I don't know where that word came from either. I don't think I've ever said that word
you've never
in
said
my
that
life.
word. You've never said
So
that
now
word.
it's come out there. But I'm
Yeah.
really interested because I truly think these could be implemented.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I agree.
How did you want to end this episode? Just
What I'm thinking of doing is I'm going to make a really, really impactful point and just cut it halfway through.
So the last thing we want to mention is that it's a must for all primary schools. We have to